I've been up here a couple months, so it's good. Gratitudes and victories. How are you guys? Happy Friday. Yeah, April?
One that really means a lot to me, that I often miss here. I love in the morning that we say we will not participate in any transaction that doesn't benefit all who are involved. And I just think that's so cool. I actually brag about that to people that I work for a company that says that.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
It's unique, for sure. I spent a few years in title, and it is kind of shocking what else is out there. Just that, I was a rep, so I would go to different brokerages, and yeah, thank you. I think I saw another hand. Yeah, why?
Going to Elevate next week.
Okay,
Love
exciting
it.
stuff.
Nice.
It's going to be a jam-packed 3 days.
Yes, it is.
Good. Who else is going here? Okay. Good. If you're not or haven't signed up, this guy can get you signed up over here. Cool. Okay, anyone else? Gratitudes, victories? Okay. And then just real quick about this one, there's been some confusion. So we're holding this one here on Monday, and it is a WCR Women's Council of Realtors event. So if you're not a member, it's $30. And if you are, it's free. So it's going to be really awesome. And if you're planning on going, make sure that you talk to me so we can get you all registered. Okay? Awesome. Okay, so today what I wanted to talk about, when I first got into the business, I was getting my real estate license, and Dylan had been in the business a few years. And my dad met with us, and we were in his office, and he said, okay, if you want to have a highly successful business, these are the 12 things you need to master. And you've probably seen them in the front of your script books, okay, that list of 12 things. And ironically, I got my license, and 3 days later went into title insurance, so it was kind of funny. But even though I think those 12 skill sets are so important for any sales industry, and I've really still lived by those over the past few years. And it's been a huge game changer for me just in getting started and getting the momentum going faster. So today I specifically wanted to talk about lead follow-up. I'm going to grab a marker. So the reason why I feel qualified to talk about this is, so I just finished my first year of recruiting. And it was an awesome year, lots of growth. But I was able to recruit 52 agents, okay?
Nice.
So, yeah, thanks, guys. And that's not to say, wow, I'm so awesome or whatever, but really,
Sure.
and I am, right?
Can't say it.
You can say it.
But it's really the skill sets, okay, the fundamental things. And so lead follow-up is huge. I mean, I can name, if any of you know Flavio Orlandini, he joined our company in September. The first time we sat down for a recruiting appointment was in April, okay? And with recruiting, you're kind of trying to be in front of them all the time, top of mind. Miriam, she just joined us. I think some of you know her. She comes to the morning meetings a lot. She and I sat down for the first time in October and then just joined a few weeks ago, okay? So hopefully that helps you understand that, yeah, there are really hot leads that happen in this business, but it's also a process. And it's exciting because you do get to be there through the process of helping people make their most important investments in their lives, okay? So I have a couple questions that we can kind of think about together. And just, I mean, obviously it's kind of an obvious statement, but lead follow-up will look different for you no matter what stage you're in your business. We have people in here who are brand new. We have people who have been 10 plus years in the business. So just kind of gauge that. And with your level of experience or production, you'll have your own challenges with lead follow-up. Okay, so the first question is, how do you organize your lead follow-up? Okay. What systems do you guys have in place for your lead follow-up? Go ahead.
I was going to say our team uses pro agent websites.
Awesome. Okay.
Makes it really easy to task our list or our lead, and then we know whatever day we've tasked it for, it comes up.
Yeah, set reminders so that you're always staying in front of it. Awesome. How do you guys make sure that you're actually using your system that you put
that is where we get our leads. So David is very strict on this is a commandment, you know, like you do your leads every day, no matter what. Dylan knows.
Yeah. And
it's made it super simple. I mean, I can't imagine anything else because that's what I've known my whole time. Right?
Yeah.
This is the system. This is how you use your. You get your lead, you task it, and then there's no like, no one falls through the holes kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Love it.
Yeah, pro agent, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, you're good.
I was just going to say, there's a book called 40X, 4 Disciplines of Execution, and that book talks about like lag measures, like our goals. Like my goal this year is to close 58 transactions.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lag measure. I can't necessarily control that as much as the activity of follow-up or my prospecting.
That's awesome. Right.
And those lead measures are kind of like, that's what you have leverage over. That's how you get the boulder to move, right? So the things you need to focus on are the things that actually are in your control that you can do every single day that will get you, that will lead to that lag measure of what you want as the end result, right? So like the follow-up, like Wai's talking about is, I mean, I can't control if those leads will actually do anything with me, right? I can improve my skills and increase the odds of them doing something with me, but I can't control if they're motivated or not. But what I can do is I can control that every day from 10 to 11, I'm making those follow-up calls and I'm rescheduling for them for another follow-up.
Totally.
Every single day.
Mm-hmm. Well, and isn't it cool when once you start to do that consistently, that it actually works?
Oh yeah.
Like it's kind of mind-blowing. And then that 58 deals even a few weeks, few months later becomes possible. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, and I love that Y brings up Pro Agent. So the best CRM to use is the one that you use. Okay, so we don't care what one you use. We have some awesome ones provided to you. But pick one that you're actually going to use and help grow your business. Okay? All right. Does anyone else have some good systems they want to throw in there?
Can I ask a question to you,
Mhm.
Christy? So you've had to like develop this skill with recruiting of like recognizing that there's gonna be like a rainbow on the other end, right?
Yeah. Hopefully,
from
right?
April to October, a follow up and like follow up and
Mhm.
follow up. So how have you kept your mindset in place over that long lag of from
Mhm.
first contact to signed contract?
Good question. So I think the most important thing is to make sure you're following up consistently and regularly. And it has to be soon, okay? Because there's this dead space that happens with any transaction. And if you wait too long, it's awkward to call, right? And then no one wants to do it. And so if you can stay in front of people and make sure you're providing something of value, even if it's telling them, for you guys, about a new loan program that Inspiro is doing, or a new construction site that's going on in the community, or just giving them some sort of value as you're talking to them, it's going to make, one, you calling them a lot easier for your mindset. And also, it'll just keep you in front of them consistently so that when they think real estate, they think you. Okay? Same thing in recruiting. Okay, so the second question is, how often are you lead following up? Okay. Does anyone have a certain breakdown of how often they're following up with certain clients? Mike, have one?
No.
Okay, great.
For me, it all depends on a number of different things. Their enthusiasm level, their interest. So I don't want to overwhelm them. We're not giving them enough. So
Right.
I'm always gauging where they're at, and I'll make notes of what they're thinking, what they're doing, so I can revisit that. And then, do I need to a little sooner? Because they will speed up the more you follow up.
Totally.
So that's how I typically would handle it.
Yeah, I think that's great. Different rating systems. I've
Right.
seen that. I was just in Centerville, and two of our agents on the back of their door, they have this chart that they've made where they have their clients' names on sticky notes, and they'll put, if they're like really hot and need to be talking to them every day, on the way, under contract, a bunch of different things. So that's a good way of just getting a system together, but you really do need some sort of rating system to know how often to reach out to people, okay? Even when I'm recruiting, like I'll separate experienced agents and new licensees. Sometimes that's nice if you can do that with like new home buyer, first time home buyers, or people like in markets, or right, to have those different categories, like to know how often to follow
Like
up with.
exactly what you said. What I do also is when I make notes on there, sometimes they become a better lead. But if you know that, hey, they're working full time, they're not going to even revisit this until
Mhm.
February. I'll check in once or twice in between, but then I will wait until they say, like I would just check in saying, hey, we have a great event going on. Just wanted to know if you are open to coming in. Not necessarily calling them, hey, I would like to set up the time to talk about you coming over.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll be like, hey, we have a great event going on, or I talk to people about Elevate.
Mhm.
And so it's like, oh yeah, but, I'm working from like until 5 and I don't quit until the end of the month. So they go into different categories. So then I have a hot lead, or I'll have 2 weeks out, or I'll have like, okay, they're kind of cold, but I can check in with them in about a month.
Mhm. Totally. Yeah, I think you bring up a good point of make sure we're asking questions so we know how our people that we're following up with want to be communicated with. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest skill set is know how often to follow up. You know what I mean? Because like you could take somebody that's hotter and you say, oh, they tell you, give me a call in 2 weeks. I'll probably list then, and you call them in 2 weeks, and like, oh yeah, I listed last week with equity real estate.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the heck? You told me
Right.
2 weeks.
Right.
And then also you have somebody who's really just not motivated, and you're calling them every single week.
Yeah.
Totally.
And that's where you start getting a problem with like gridlock. It's like I have so many people to follow up. I have this huge follow-up list,
Mhm.
and you spend all your day following up with those unqualified leads,
Totally.
and then you don't get those new people in the pipeline. And gridlock is what I call it. And so I think the way that you need to figure out is if I first of all, a hot lead, you need to follow up with them enough that they actually either do something with you or they tell you to stop calling them.
Mhm.
Right? I mean, like literally, you want them to say, "You're calling me too much,"
Right,
And then
yeah.
with a hot lead, and then with somebody who says, "Hey, call me in 2 weeks, call me in a month," at the most, cut that timeline in half, and then put that on your calendar. If they say they're going to be back in town in a month, and that's when they're going to list their home, call them in 2 weeks at the most.
Mhm. Well, and the thing that's cool is that if you're always providing value with those hot leads, they won't tell you that you're calling too much.
Right. Yeah.
Because they want to talk to you because you're helping them, right? Every time
Exactly.
you talk
Just
on
be
the phone.
okay with them saying that because, like.
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Was there a hand back here? No? Yeah, Dylan.
For me, I think it's just calling more than less. Like for example, I've been calling most of everyone in here about the event. So I had a funny thing yesterday. So Keith Munden from Centerville. So I've been calling him. I probably called him like 8 times. And he never answered. I know him pretty well too. And I didn't know he was out. He was in Hawaii on vacation. He's like, fine. He's like, so he texted me. He's like, I think the 9th time's your lucky charm. So it's just like calling. So
Totally.
I mean, like even when I was doing real estate, it's just I'd much rather overcall than undercall. Even if they're like, okay, you're calling me too much. I'd much rather have that because like Matt said, I've had a couple experiences where you call back a week later and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I bought a house, and that's like the worst feeling ever because you're like, I could have had that. So for me, it's just I prefer to overcall. Even if it might get a little bit annoying, I'd much rather have them tell me, oh, you're calling me too much, like you need to stop. And so it's a lot better. So that's
I really like that because when you're reaching out to somebody, you instead of telling them the reason why you're calling, hey, I'm calling about listing your home, or you could say, did you know another home just sold in your neighborhood, or it just sold in the market, or like if you're calling them about a different event, they're not thinking you're calling about the same thing. They just know that they're on your mind,
Right.
and you're reaching out to them, so they won't forget you when it's time.
Mhm.
That's the hardest thing to get through. So I really like that.
Yeah, I read this statistic yesterday in regards to what you just said. Look how crazy this is. So roughly 44% of salespeople give up after 1 no. Another 22% give up after 2. This means that 66% or 2/3 of agents will never follow up a 3rd time. Yet, according to several studies, 80% of non-routine purchases like a home are made at least after 5 follow-ups. Isn't that interesting?
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that.
So stay on them, guys. And then I think this also makes sure that you have a system in place for your SOI. My shoe just came off. Yeah, so SOI. So just a reminder, reaching out to your SOI by phone quarterly at least. Email once a month if you're sending out a mailer once a month, and social media on your personal page every 1 business post to 4 normal posts. Okay, and then 2 client appreciation events, which we do for you guys here. Okay. Has anyone already met their 100 added people to their SOI challenge yet? Anyone? Yeah?
I have, it's kind of false, it's, yeah.
Okay, good.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Good job.
All right, so our third question is, what are you saying when you lead follow-up? Who has a good lead follow-up script? Why?
I don't have like a script, but we work with a lot of buyers, and one phrase I always use is, "Did you get the homes that I emailed you? What did you think about them? Is there anything you'd like me to change, or is that what you're looking for?"
Love it.
And that just opens up a lot of just a conversation. You know, like, yeah, I did receive it, I do like it, or no, you know what? Can you change it to this price range?
Mm-hmm.
Things like that.
Yeah, great. And I love that you're asking questions so you can really discover their expectations, their wants, and needs. That's awesome. John?
So last year, I did a lot of door knocking. Every week from door knocking, I had 10 to my SOI.
Awesome.
And I'm calling all of those. My phone call goes, "Hi Matt, this is John Aubrey, Century 21. I knocked on your door last year." "Oh yeah, I remember you." Great, so I just wanted to share right now through our mortgage partner in Sparrow Financial, interest rates are flowing just under 3.5 on up to 3 3/4, depending if it's conventional FHA or VA. "Oh, really? Thank you." Or, "Oh, okay, I didn't really care." No, that is the range. It's what they say. "Oh, you don't care? It sounds like you're happy where you're at. That's fantastic. Let me ask you, who do you know? Coworkers, family, friends, neighbors, or do you have any questions about real estate?" "No, I don't have any questions." "Great. Who do you know that's looking to buy or sell in the next 2 months?" I don't know." "Great. I just want to be your preferred real estate resource." Perfect.
Great. Nice. That's a good script. Okay. And this, again, goes back to what value are you providing? What I like to do is every month have when I'm calling recruits, like I have a certain thing that I'm calling them for. Whether it's inviting them to a certain event or a training or a coaching session that we're doing, or helping our agents grow their SOI, right? Something specific that you can actually help them with, okay? And then the last question is, what's getting in the way of your lead follow-up? Okay, so I think the best way to gauge how well you're following up is 1, how many transactions are you doing? And 2, I've noticed when I'm not doing very good at lead following up, my conversion rates are really low, okay? So I'm going on a lot of appointments, I'm not getting contracts signed. You've probably seen that happen in your own business, where you feel like you're just going on so many appointments or talking to so many people and nothing's really happening from that. Okay, so what things are getting in the way of your lead follow-up?
So I've been getting really big on time blocking for that too, because if I don't, then it lags and I don't do it till the evening, and sometimes you don't get a better response because they're at dinner or they're with family and they don't want to respond. And so it's just, I think timing is really important for when you're doing it, and time blocking for that as well. Because a lot of things can get in the way. Either an appointment or a presentation can go long, or a coaching session can go long, and then it lags on. So sometimes I'll have to put it to the next day, because I feel like sometimes when I'm late following up and I'm doing it later in the evening, like around 6 or 7, sometimes they're like, well, no, I'm home and I'm having dinner. Can I call you later? So sometimes it becomes an inconvenience, but then also you still got to keep trying. If it lags, so that lead follow-up and prospecting has to be in your schedule. You have to time block for it, I feel.
Yeah, I would say too, kind of gauge what time is normally best for your clients or the people you're following up with, because some people prefer evenings.
Yeah.
And
Some
if you
do,
don't
yeah.
call in the evening, you'll never get a hold of them.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Lila?
I would say your mindset, mindset, skill set, and being present in the moment. Those are the 3 things that are going to get you either the deal or not. That's it.
Totally agree. Yeah. Yeah, what's your mindset when you're getting on the phone? What's the story you're telling yourself? Is it, ugh, I don't want to do this? Or is it, that's what I catch myself doing it all the time. And really, it's just changing that story that you're telling yourself.
So, Lyra's absolutely right. It is mindset, and I can say this because I've never been consistently follow up, and I can tell you why. It's because when I start doing it, I find all the deals I missed. And so it becomes
Yeah.
and so until you're consistent, that's what you're gonna find. And Russ Orchard talks about how it is a bamboo tree. You gotta give it 6 to 9 months, but once you do that, it's gonna be unreal. And so it's mindset. I keep finding all these deals I missed, and then I quit doing it, and then I've never been consistent for the 6 to 9 months, and it's killing me.
Yeah. That's funny you bring that up. I was just talking to Amy Laster-Haynes. So she's, I think, our number 2 agent in our Orem office. So she's a great producer. And we were just talking about how this year she's changed having her assistant do some of the lead follow-up, because she had to do it for a week or 2 while her assistant was out of town, and realized how many transactions she had been missing out on. So it's a great point. And it's been cool to see, even just from this year. I think she was saying she has 4 people that are now qualified looking for a house. But it makes a big difference. Matt?
I actually am hesitant to say this because I could see how this would hurt somebody's mindset, but the reality is that other people know about these leads. Like, if you think you're the only one calling this person,
Right.
or know that this person's looking to buy or sell, you're most likely wrong. And so I don't know, like John, he doesn't like to call because he doesn't like to find out how many people he missed out on. I can see where like people don't like that competition, or they like get discouraged by that. But the reality is, you should be calling them like somebody else knows about that same lead, and that should light a fire in your butt. But I can see how it could also do the other way around, depending on your personality.
Yeah. But I like that a lot. That's good motivation. So I would tell you, what's getting in the way would be really often dependent on where your production is. So if you feel like it's just laziness, then I would say put some accountability in place. And you're probably not providing value, so you don't want to get on the phone, okay? If you feel like you just have no time at all to lead follow-up and things are too crazy, then we need to help you work on your system. So making sure that there's a specific time not only to lead follow-up in your schedule, but to update that lead follow-up, okay? That's like the biggest thing, is updating your CRM, updating the people that you've had appointments with that week, and setting reminders to follow up with them. Does that make sense? That will, if you're able to update that consistently, you'll be a rock star at lead follow-up. Jason?
What do you mean by update?
So
I'm not sure I understand.
example, I like paper, so my CRM is on paper. And so I have a couple different binders of people I've set appointments with, people that we met, but they're not looking to move. And then people who is just my normal lead follow-up, okay? So as I go through that, I'll write down notes, and same thing in your CRM, you'll write down notes, and then you'll set reminders of when to follow up with people. That's the biggest thing, because a lot of people will call people, a lot of agents will call people, and then they forget to set a reminder, or they forget to actually do the thing that they said that they would help them with. Okay, so make sure that time for actually going through with the lead follow-up is in your schedule. Maybe you promised a bunch of people you would send out CMAs or a list of homes that are up in the neighborhood. Make sure that you have that time in your schedule to actually do that. Okay.
So just with time blocking, I'm just so serious about my schedule because it can go out of whack real fast. So on Sundays, I actually update my list.
Good.
Like it's not a to-do list, but it's scheduled, saying, okay, these leads, I need to follow up with them on Tuesday, or I need to follow up with these guys on Thursday, or I want to call them about the event. So I'll actually put that in my schedule on Sunday. So I actually sit down like for a good half hour, 45 minutes, and I actually go through it. That's how I update my lead follow-up and what I need to reach out to them for, and I'll put notes in there. Like what I was telling you, like if you're gonna follow up and you're gonna call them in the evening or you're gonna call them during the day, if that gets thrown off, and I do always ask them saying, hey, do you have a minute to talk real quick? If they tell me yes, then I'm going for it. If they're saying it's inconvenient, then I'll maybe put them on the next day. You know, that's what I mean. Like if you miss your lead follow-up and maybe you miss the time to call them correctly, then hey, I wanted to update you on something. Do you have a minute? And sometimes I'll be like, yeah, sure. Or sometimes like, actually, I'm in an appointment or I can't talk right now. Maybe I'll call you tomorrow. And they actually respect that.
Right, totally. And sometimes if it's been a long time, just be honest with them and say, hey, I am so sorry. I haven't done a great job at following up with you. And then offer something of value, okay, to get back and report with them. Did that answer your question?
Well, sort of, but
About the analytical.
I'm good.
Are you sure? What?
Yeah.
But what?
Well, you said that you schedule time to update your lead follow-up. Does that
Yes.
mean that when you're making your calls, you're not doing any updating on them?
I will, but a lot of the time I'm setting things aside. So depending on what CRM, it'll be different for you. Sometimes you can just do it right then and there. But if you're using like a paper or note cards or something like that, then I'll just put it aside so I'm not making my lead follow-up take 5 hours when it should take 2. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that's basically everything. I think there was one other thing. Yeah, and then just going back to make sure you recognize, are you beating dead leads to death for a second time, or are you just kind of generating too many leads and you're not following up with them? So if you can master lead follow-up, I promise you, not only will you do more business, but you're going to spend less time in the business and make more money this year, which is exciting. And then you get a life outside of real estate, right? That's what we want for you.
That'd be great.
So, yeah, because it's all about working smarter, not harder with this, you know, with mastering your lead follow-up, mastering your customer service, and your ability to really communicate with the people you're working with. Okay? Awesome. Okay, well, let's just finish with some affirmations then. I know, isn't that weird?